This is the Warrior Kid podcast, number 8, Ask Uncle Jake. And this podcast is based on the 2 Way of the Warrior Kid books. The first one is Wimpy to Warrior, the Navy SEAL Way. And the second one is called Mark's Mission. And the books are about young Mark, who faces a lot of the problems that kids face everywhere. But Mark gets some help solving those problems from his Uncle Jake, who is a Navy SEAL and who stays with Mark in the summertime. And I made this podcast so that kids could hear some more lessons from Uncle Jake and also get a chance to ask Uncle Jake their own questions. So here we go. The first question is, my name is Xander. I am 7 years old, and I would like to ask if you have ever gone off the warrior path. What did you do to fix it? Okay. Of course, I have gone off the warrior path. Sometimes I like mint chocolate chip milkshakes. Sometimes I don't feel like working out, or I'm too tired, so I skip a day, or I go too easy. Sometimes I don't feel like cleaning up the mess that I make, so I just say I'll do it later. There's all kinds of different ways that you can go off the warrior path. But when I do, I get back on the path. That's what you do. You get back on the path. Now, you have to be careful, because when you step off the path, it's a very slippery slope. It's very easy to fall down and fall off the path almost completely. If you had one cookie, it's easy to think, well, I'm off the path now, so I might as well have another cookie, and then another cookie, and then another one, and then I might as well have some pizza, and then some soda. No, don't do that. If you slip off the path for a minute, it's okay, but just get back on it. Now, sometimes if I do miss a workout, I'll do a really hard workout to get myself back on the path. Or sometimes if I don't clean up after myself, I'll clean up everything to make sure I get back on the path. So don't get mad and don't get sad if you slip off the path. It happens to everyone. Just get back on the path of being a warrior kid. You know what to do, so go do it. Now, next I got some questions from some warrior kid sisters. The first one is from Savannah, and she says, how do I get my mom and dad to put me in gymnastics? And Savannah's 7 years old. Well, this is a very good question. And what makes it a good question is, first of all, kids change their minds a lot. When I was a kid, I liked some new different thing almost every week. And that happens with a lot of kids. And things like gymnastics cost a lot of money. And sometimes parents can't afford to spend a lot of money on every single new thing that kids are interested in. Especially because it's really hard to tell, if you're a parent, if your kid is really interested in something. So there's a chance that your parents could spend $100 or $200 to put you in gymnastics, and then guess what? You end up not liking it. And that's a really bad waste of money. So what you need to do is you need to prove to your parents and to yourself that you do really, really like gymnastics. Because it looks cool on TV, but it's really hard work. Now, go to the library and get a book about gymnastics and start doing the exercises that the book teaches, and do them every day and explain to your parents what they're doing and the progress that you're making, and share with them how much you love doing it, and you keep doing it, and then make a deal with them. Say, look, if I keep doing these exercises every day for 3 months, then that will prove to you that I really love gymnastics and I really want to do it. And then maybe they can sign you up for gymnastics. Now, there is another problem, because it can still be really tricky to pay for things like gymnastics. So even if you love it and you prove to your parents and you're exercising all the time, there's a chance that your parents can't afford or don't have enough money to pay for gymnastics. And if that happens, keep training, keep exercising, and then maybe You can do something like what Mark did in Mark's mission when he goes to the school and explains that Nathan James doesn't really have enough money, but he'll help clean up, and they'll help clean up if they could get a cheaper price. So maybe you could do something like that. And also, even if that doesn't work, you keep training, keep working, keep pursuing the thing that you really like doing. And eventually you'll find a way to do it in a gym, even if you spend 2 or 3 years out in the backyard hanging on a tree branch, learning to do your exercises. All right. The next question was from Savannah's sister, Bailey, her older sister. She's 8 years old. And this is a good question. You said we should not be on electronics too long. I do lots of math on the computer at home and at school. Is that good or bad? That is a great point, Bailey. And I know that a lot of homework is done on computer these days, and there's games on the computers that can be somewhat educational. You have to be careful with that, because sometimes the games claim to be teaching you something, but really all they're getting you to do is play more games. So you have to be a little bit careful. But of course, it's good to do your homework, and you have to do your homework on the computer. And if you have some educational games that you can do on the computer, that's fine. But the tricky part is knowing that when you're done with your homework and when you're done doing things that are actually educational, you have to get off the computer. That's what you have to do. There's all kinds of little meaningless games and videos and things to do on computers that are just a real waste of time. And there's people that make those meaningless games and make those meaningless videos. They want you to watch them and play those games because that's how they make their money. So they make games and videos that make you want to watch them or play them so they can get more money. It's a trick. So don't let people trick you. When you finish your homework, if you're not sure if a game is educational, then get off your computer and go do something real. Thanks for the questions from those two warrior kids. Next, we have a question from a warrior kid named Elizabeth. And she says, I'm almost 9. And my dad wants me to go into Jiu Jitsu tournaments to try and improve. Should I go into the tournaments or just keep practicing? Okay, so tournaments in Jiu Jitsu are good because they let you see where your weaknesses are in Jiu Jitsu, where you can get better. They're also good because they're scary. They are scary. At Jiu Jitsu tournaments, people are yelling and screaming, and the crowd is big, and you don't know who the person is that you're fighting, and you don't know how good they are. And the really scary thing is that you might lose. You might lose. So there's a lot of things to be scared of, but also being scared and learning how to overcome that fear is important. And this is something that Mark deals with in Mark's Mission, the Way of the Warrior Kid book. And I'll talk a little bit. I'll go to the book for this one. So Uncle Jake is kind of trying to figure out if Mark is going to do a jiu-jitsu tournament or not. And right now it doesn't seem like Mark is going to do it. So Mark gets done with a jiu-jitsu class one day, and Uncle Jake comes to get him. Here we go, back to the book. When class was over, Uncle Jake and I went out to the car. As soon as we got inside, he said, "How do you like jiu-jitsu?" with a big smile on his face. I think he already knew the answer. "It's awesome," I told him. "It's super fun. What do you like about it?" I don't know exactly. Pretty much everything. I guess the main thing is that I like how all the moves fit together, and one move leads to another move, which leads to another move, which leads to another move. And when you put all the moves together, it's like a special power. I know. It's awesome, isn't it? Uncle Jake asked me enthusiastically. "Yeah," I told him. Then his whole face and attitude changed in a millisecond. "Then why aren't you going to compete?" His change in attitude had me confused for a second. "What?" I asked him. Why don't you compete? You told me your instructor wants you to compete, but you're not doing it. Why not? You're good. You need to test yourself. I should have known this was coming. Just when my day was going so perfect, I didn't know what to say, so I just sat there. After a minute or so, Uncle Jake said, "Well?" "Well, what?" I responded, hoping that somehow he had forgotten what we were talking about. Then he said it slowly and clearly. "Why don't you compete?" I sat and thought about the answer, but I didn't want to tell him. So I started to make something up. Because it's just not my style. "Not your style?" Uncle Jake said. "You are good at it. It's definitely your style. That doesn't make any sense." "Well, I mean, competing. Competing isn't really my style. I just like to train." "But your coach wants you to compete." "But I just want to train," I told Uncle Jake. Uncle Jake was quiet for a minute. Then he said, "Why do you want to train?" "What?" I asked him. "Training. Why do you like to train?" "Because it's fun. And because I want to get better." "Okay, that makes sense. Then why don't you want to compete? It's still jiu-jitsu, and competition makes you better." "I know, but I just..." "Wait." Uncle Jake cut me off. "Are you scared?" I knew I just had to come clean, so I told him, Yeah, I am scared." "Scared of what?" "Sheesh, you are really good. You do jiu-jitsu all the time. How can you possibly be scared of something that you do every day?" "It's not jiu-jitsu that I'm scared of," I told him. And I kind of even raised my voice a little, getting a little bit emotional. Uncle Jake seemed to sense that and stayed quiet for a little bit, which calmed me down. "Okay then, what are you scared of?" he asked me calmly. I thought about it for how to tell him for a minute, and finally I just said it. "Losing. I don't want to lose." Uncle Jake nodded his head. "Good," he said. "Good?" I asked. "How is that good?" "I want you to be scared of losing. I want you to be really scared of losing." "Why?" "Because fear will make you train harder. Fear will make you work harder. Fear will make you prepare more. And when you do all of those things, your chances of success go up." "But I can still lose," I told him. "Not really. You only really lose if you don't try. If you let your fear keep you from even getting in the game or on the mat. That's how you lose. But if you get out there and do your best, you will either win or you will learn. Either way, it is good for you." "But what if I do horrible?" I told Uncle Jake. "What if I get tapped out in 10 seconds? Then what?" "Then what?" Like I said, if that's the case, then you learn. You learn what mistake you made. You learn what part of your game you need to work on. You learn what moves you need to practice. Warriors don't always just do what they want to do. They don't just stay in a nice, comfortable world. They push themselves to be uncomfortable. That is how warriors make themselves better. You should do the same thing. Push yourself to do things you don't want to do. Does that make sense? It did make sense, but I still wasn't quite sure about it. "I guess so," I told him. "Okay, well, think about it. It will make you better." I was thinking about it. Like always, Uncle Jake made sense. And even though I wasn't quite ready to say yes to the tournament just yet, I knew it was the right thing to do, and I had to do it. So, Mark is starting to see why he should compete. He's starting to see why it will make him better. But at the same time, Uncle Jake isn't making Mark compete. He's waiting until Mark wants to compete. That's a very good way to lead. Instead of making people do things, what Uncle Jake does is explains to Mark why it is good, why it is important, so that Mark actually wants to do it. himself. So, maybe for you, Elizabeth, why don't you make a deal with your dad? Maybe after 1 year of training, you'll start looking for a tournament to try. Then train for it and go have fun. And that is the most important thing about jiu-jitsu, is to have fun doing it so that you keep doing it. The next question is from Edward, who's 8 years old. And he wants to know how to mentally change focus to exercising and working out when all he wants to do is run around and play. Well, Edward, that's perfectly fine. Because guess what? Running around and playing is exercise. Exercise should be fun. It should even feel like playing a game. And there's some ways that you can make exercise into a game. Pick some exercises that you like pull-ups or push-ups and squats and burpees, and see how many you can do of them in 1 minute. And then see how many your dad can do. See if you can beat your dad. Have some fun with it. Turn it into a game. Another thing that can be fun to do is set up an obstacle course for yourself at the park or around the yard. Go around the yard, go under the fence, go back over the fence, go under the deck, across the monkey bars, through the tunnel in the shrubs, and back around the yard, and see how fast you could do all that. Then see if you can do it again and go even faster. It'll be fun, and it will be playing at the same time. It'll be exercise, and you won't even know it. So, any exercise and any working out you do can be fun. Just change your mind to make it fun instead of work, and then you will have fun. And the last question comes from Ainsley. She's a warrior kid from Canada, and she's 5 years old. And she says, is it okay to get frustrated, upset, and mad if you don't win your race or game that you are playing with your friends? Okay. Ainsley likes to win. And I actually like that Ainsley likes to win. As a matter of fact, I think it's pretty awesome. But I also have to say that if losing makes you frustrated or upset or mad, that is definitely not good. Because getting frustrated or upset or mad will actually not help you win. They will actually make you lose. The more frustrated you get, the less you can concentrate and the bigger mistakes you're going to make. So if you really like to win, then you need to learn to control your temper. And I've talked about this before. A good way to start trying to control your temper is tilt your head back a little bit. Take a deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth, and then smile. Make yourself smile. That will calm you down, make you more relaxed, put your temper under control so you can actually focus on winning. Now, if you don't win, it's no problem. Guess what you do? You do the same thing. You lift up your chin, you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and then you smile. You smile at the people that beat you, even though you might be mad. Because if you lose and you act frustrated or you act upset or you act mad, you're being a bad sport. And people do not like to play with other people that are bad sports. Plus, people will think you're kind of a baby because you're kind of acting like one. So, the best thing to do is do your best. Try and win. But learn to control your emotions if you do lose. And instead of getting mad, focus on calming down and also focus on what you can learn that made you lose so that you can do better next time. Good luck with that, Ainsley. That is all we have for this Warrior Kid podcast. If you want to get one of the Warrior Kid books, you can get them at warriorkid.com. And if you want to get a Warrior Kid t-shirt or Jiu-Jitsu rash guard, you can get them from JockoStore.com. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading these books. Now go out there, train hard, study hard, work hard, get after it, and be a warrior kid.